Hi. Well, there I am. Hi, thank you for coming to First UU Columbus. I'm Pam Conley, and on behalf of Brandon Moss, our musical director, and all of our congregation and everybody else, we welcome you to the first. This is it. This is the kickoff, isn't it? This is the kickoff to the Carpe Diem season. So welcome. I'm going to hand you over to the gang, and please give them a big welcome.
Thank you so much, everybody. We're so happy to see everybody here. Thank you so much to First UU for hosting our concerts this season. And it is the beginning of our 19th season, which means next year's a big year. We're going to be 20 years of Carpe Diem String Quartet, and that means we're going to have a big birthday party for 20. And so in the program, you can see there's some contact information if you like to plan parties or you want to be involved or if you have some really cool ideas you'd like to share with us. Ooh, we've got a year lead time. So let's start cooking up something really special for our 20th season. We are thrilled also to have good friends, Mark LOMAX, our world premiere tonight, written by Mark. Can't wait for you to hear from him and listen to his amazing piece, Ubuntu. And a longtime friend of Carpe Diem String Quartet, Michelle Schumann, who's basically we've been collaborating with Michelle for almost all of those 20 years. And so we're thrilled to have her here in Columbus on our season to mark this opening concert. We're super excited to play for you. And before I spend any more time talking, I want to hand this microphone over to Mark to introduce his piece.
Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, to hear again this amazing group play this piece, Ubuntu, which I wrote last year after going through a lot of mental health stuff, and I don't even remember writing it. It was wild, trust me. But there were things that happened that helped me untether from some traumatic things from COVID and all the other things. Like, my group was on tour. We were in the middle of a 35-city tour, and then COVID hits, and we're like, what's going on? I'm giving a lecture at Western Michigan University. We're about to do the concert, and all the students, who I thought were paying attention pretty well, their phones started going off, and I'm like, I've lost them. Lord, have mercy. I should have took the phones away. And they were getting alerts, like, if you don't leave campus today, you're going to be stuck. Everything was shutting down, right? And so because of all of that, the tour ended. The guys, we were all kind of scattered because we all live across the country, and it was hard. It's still hard to get back. And all of the loss that happened during that time was heavy on us, especially in the jazz musician community. Because I don't know if you know, jazz musicians don't make a lot of money, and many of us don't have health insurance. So when we started seeing young, vibrant musicians who still had to work, right, and may not have been as educated about masking and the vaccines when they came out, just dropping like flies, and elders just dropping. It was heavy. It was like every day there were 2 or 5 people literally gone. And what do you do when you feel like music is the reason that you're on the planet and we need to be healed? And you can't do anything because there are no venues, right? We streamed, and that was great, but playing into a camera and a microphone is not the same as playing into the space where people are there and you can feel that connectivity and that vibration, that energy, and share in wonderful musical moments. And so when Corrine came to me and was like, where's the piece? I was like, I'm sorry. It's too heavy, it's too much going on. And then last fall, some things happened that untethered me from all of that. And I was like, Ubuntu is for me, the way to write myself out of this funk, this depression, because Ubuntu is generally an African concept about radical humanity, right? I am because you are, and because you are, I am. And coming out of the isolation of COVID, what do we need more than anything else? Each other, right? That embrace of our collective humanity to help us know that not only will I be okay, but we will be okay. And then it feels like since COVID, the world has just gone nuts. It's like, what's going on? People forgot how to talk to each other. Like, diplomacy, what? Civility, what? So I'm reading the text of the culture, the global culture, and as I'm writing this piece, I'm seeing that everybody's operating within their own rhythmic framework. What does that mean, LOMAX? It means that rhythm by itself is nothing. It just is. That's a rhythm, but you don't have anything to really compare it to, right? Because it's just by itself. But if I do, those two rhythms together create what we call groove. Groove. Why is that important? Now, I'm a drummer, so everything to me is about groove. It's important because a single rhythm can just go on forever and not really be grounded in anything worth anything. But groove can only work when you have two rhythms that find alignment and harmony. And I wonder what society would be like if all of our individual rhythms were purposed to groove. And maybe they are, we just have forgotten. And so in this piece, you're going to hear competing rhythms, and you're going to hear these swells where the quartet goes up together and then they come back down. They go up, they come back down. And by the end, you'll hear the rhythms have evolved into this groove. We call it a bembe. It's a West African Yoruba from Nigeria rhythm, worship rhythm, because ultimately the piece is a prayer for hope. I hope that I'm not wrong in my assessment that we just can't figure out how to groove together. I hope that we are doing our part to influence the next generation to find their groove a little earlier, to make the world just a little bit better each generation. I hope that as an artist, a musician, whether we're playing violins, cellos, violas, or drums, that we can help society find their groove. It's really about synchronicity, right? Has anybody ever heard of the experiment of the clocks on a wall? And they're all ticking at different rhythms, and then after a while, they start ticking together? You didn't know that? It's about to happen. Be present as they play, and your hearts will all start beating together. It's true. And my hope is that as a society, as a human family, globally, we figure out how to align our heartbeats. And that's why the piece, I said yesterday, I thought it was corny, it ends on a big major chord. I've written a lot of music. I've recorded over 60 records. Never once, you can go look at it, a lot of it's free online at the library. No major chords at the end of my pieces. Like on purpose, I was, nope, nope. Because we hadn't gotten there. In this piece, I thought it was corny when I was looking at the score, and then I heard it Friday morning at rehearsal, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was writing for future Mark because I needed that major chord this week, right? And I hope you need the major chord and that it helps you continue to be hopeful and continue to do everything you can do every day to get in sync and to find that social groove. So I thank you for having me. I'm super grateful to these wonderful musicians for playing the piece, and I hope you dig it. If you don't, like I said yesterday, let me know, and I'll rewrite it. It might take a while, but I'll get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in the car today, on our way over, Ari was telling us that some relatives of hers are right now traveling in Georgia, the country of Georgia. And she showed us these amazing, beautiful pictures of this mountainous landscape. And I would imagine that they didn't plan their travel schedule around the pieces that we play in Columbus. But it really worked out, because just north of Georgia is a region in Russia called Kabardino-Balkaria. And during World War II, early in the war, when the Soviets moved out some important people out of Moscow to protect them, Prokofiev moved to Kabardino-Balkaria. And one of the things that he did, which is a thing that he did everywhere he went, was listen to folk music and learn the folk tunes of the people of this region in Russia. And these folk tunes are, in large part, where the material from this second string quartet comes from. It's wild and joyous and fun, and we really, really love playing it. And I hope you enjoy.
Thank you. Welcome back. Before we continue on with our program, I just wanted to make a special announcement, which is that our quartet, Carpe Diem String Quartet, will be performing at Carnegie Hall. So everyone mark your calendars. It's Thursday, February 27th at 8 p.m. Tickets will go on sale about 2 months in advance. And we will actually be performing Dr. Mark Lomax's piece that you heard in the first half, as well as the Prokofiev. And we will also be playing 2 new commissions, one by our very own Corinne Fujiwara and another, yes, by Laura Kaminsky. So it'll be really great, and we'd love to see you in New York. All right, as you can see, we have a new member. It's Michelle. We are very excited to play on this half 2 piano quintets for you. The first piece that we'll be playing is called I Do Not Want Horses or Diamonds. It's a very unusual title, and it was commissioned by the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra for Clara Schumann's 200th birthday. This piece really is centered around Clara Schumann, and you can see it with the title. So the title refers back to a letter that she wrote to her husband, Robert Schumann, before they had been engaged or were married. Their courtship, you might say. And Clara's father was against her marrying Robert. He was not successful enough. He did not make enough money. How in the world are you going to get horses or diamonds? And she, being a pretty remarkably independent woman, wrote a letter to Robert and said, I don't want horses or diamonds. I just want to be with you. And as many of you might know, that's what happened. They ended up married and having a long relationship. But sadly, the end of their relationship was not as happy. Robert was committed to an insane asylum later in his life, and after he was committed there, she never saw him again. And for whatever reason, that was kind of how it ended, which is really sad. And the piece, even though it has this title that harkens back to a really happy time, does have a mournful quality to it. The beginning has a lot of these motives that sigh, like, ha, ha, over and over again. And the piano has this very quick, scales go up and down and little pings here and there, which we were talking might, reflect back to Robert's presence within her life later. And in the middle is this very powerful climax that all of us really just give everything that we possibly can. And so it's very powerful middle. And then it ends with this gorgeous, thoughtful piano solo that Michelle has, and then ends with the violins doing, or actually all of us doing this extended technique that usually is reserved for very loud, but Sarah Gibson, the composer of this work, actually has us do it in as soft as we possibly can. And it creates a very cool, very interesting effect to end, and it makes it very thoughtful as an audience member of like, wow, how does that end? What's the end of that story? So I had the pleasure of performing it and premiering it this past summer in New York at the Chamber Music Conference of the East. For those of you watching, hi. And Sarah Gibson was supposed to be there, and unfortunately she passed away that summer right before she came. And they had her teacher as well as one of her students come and workshop the piece with us to give us some ideas of maybe what she wanted. And that was a really special experience for all of us, and we were all just taken by the piece, and we feel very proud to be able to perform it for you and have it live on over and over again. And even though she's not here with us in the physical, she's with us in spirit. So I hope you enjoy Do Not Want Horses or Diamonds by Sarah Gibson.
It's on. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm really happy to see you all. I think I played here with the Carpe Diem String Quartet in their series in 2010, so that's a while ago. But I'm happy to be here again and really happy to see all of you and be in this really beautiful space. It's really wonderful to be able to play here. I just wanted to introduce this ARENSKY piano quintet to you. How many of you know the composer ANTON ARENSKY? Ah, a couple. How many of you know the composer SERGEI Rachmaninoff? Yeah, so he was more of a contemporary to Rachmaninoff, so you're going to hear a lot of the same kind of style in this. And this piece was written in 1901, so right around the turn of the century. And I always find that the turn of the century is a really important time for composers and artists. It's a time when they're like looking at the past and looking at the incredible history, but also really having this urge to do something new and to kind of forge forward in this new century. And I'm going to distill music history into one little thing. I know there's more to it than that. But I think maybe one of the most important things about the turn into the 20th century was this idea of maybe individualism. I want to say music in the 1800s and before, it was so dominated by kind of Austro-Hungarian kind of style. And composers going into the 1900s really wanted to carve out something different from that. So you've got French composers, Debussy and Ravel, really creating a French style. And composers like Bartók really taking it to a different level with the use of folk music and Hungarian style. And then you heard it with Prokofiev, right, with those folk songs. So like later into the 1900s, you really hear that sense of like kind of nationalism. But I think that's even starting with a composer like ARENSKY, who is influenced by his contemporaries Rachmaninoff and Mussorgsky. And even Tchaikovsky was trying to bring that in, but a lot of people always thought that Tchaikovsky sounded too European. It's pretty good though, isn't it? It's still really good. So we get that sense. And if I was gonna, again, distill like the Russian style into a few things to listen for, I think I've got a couple of nuggets for you. The music that we hear often is very emotional, right? Well, Russian music is super emotional. So when it's heroic, it's like flying as high as you can. When it's sad, it's devastating. And so we have this real heart-on-sleeve emotionalism that comes through all of this. ARENSKY was a pianist. A lot of composers were pianists. So you always, in chamber music, you always get a lot of virtuoso piano playing. You won't be disappointed, it'll be here too, but I think that ARENSKY was an equal opportunity composer, and so everyone actually plays extremely virtuosically, and so you have a lot of a competition for sound. I also think about this idea of like big sound, like washes, walls of sounds that come out of this music, and I feel like that's kind of a Russian national thing because, you know, there's so many people. So this idea of like big, lots of voices singing, making these walls of sound. So I think you're going to hear all of that and just incredible sounds and harmonies that come out of this as well. The first movement, super, super heroic, just soaring and flying. The second movement is a theme and variations. I love theme and variations. It's one thing to hear like a beautiful theme, but then to see a composer in the imagination they have to do different things. And I think ARENSKY is really revolutionary with the way he uses this theme in so many different ways. The third movement is a scherzo. It's super fun. It's super flirty. You're going to wonder how like everything could be so heavy and then be so light and fun. But we're going to do that. And then the last movement begins with a fugue. So we start with a theme with cello and piano, and it's really like stodgy and serious. But fun still. And then everyone gets their chance with that fugue theme. And then he comes back to a theme that you will have heard in the first movement. So the last, 3 minutes of the first movement, he then just cut and paste before there was cut and paste, and puts it onto the last movement. And you know, when you're learning a piece like this and you see that the music is like exactly the same, at first you feel like you're cheating because you don't have to practice it again. And then you feel like maybe the composer was cheating. But then when you play it and you realize it's so satisfying to come back, I think you're going to have that feeling too, that sort of return to home that is so powerful in music when it happens. So, as Mark said, I hope you dig it.
way beyond me on piano, but he's thought about the techniques. Yeah. I just practice.
That's a very elegant cane, Dave. I expect you to do some Fred Astaire moves with it.
Yes, I did. I did some things like that.